Hello Amusement Park Portal! Thank you for tuning into our video of 15 Defunct Cedar Point Rides Part 2. And once again, before we begin, I ask a huge favor of you. If you just go downstairs there and slap those like and subscribe buttons, that really does help us out, and it doesn't cost you a penny. We really do appreciate it. So now that we got all that out of the way, let's jump right into it. Alright, we're going to get things going with the mill race. Now, the mill race was a log flume that operated between 1963 and 1993. It was the second log flume ever built, right behind Six Flags Over Texas's. Now, the mill race was the perfect ride to cool you off on a hot summer's day. You got a nice splash of water without walking off completely soaked. Now, I was able to dig out one of my old Cedar Point park maps, and you can see it located right here on the right hand side. And in 1993, the mill race was removed to make way for the Raptor roller coaster that still operates in that spot today. The approximate location of the mill race is where Raptor Station sits today. Next up, we have the Dodgems. I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, doesn't Cedar Point still have a Dodgems today? Well, you're correct, but at one point they used to have two. Now, this Dodgem used to sit right where Top Thrill 2's tower is today. Not the new tower, but the original tower that belonged to the original Top Thrill dragster. Now, the other Dodgem ride still operates today and is located on the boardwalk area of the park. Next up, we have the Satellite Jets. Now, the Satellite Jets were kind of similar to like the Dumbo ride at Disney, where you can operate it and you make it go up and down, only you're in a jet instead of an elephant. Now, this ride lived at the park from 1961 to 1986, actually had two different homes in the park. At one time, it was located in the center of the main midway before it was moved over to the area right between Blue Streak and Valraven's locker area. Next up, we have the Sky Slide. Now, the Sky Slide was a giant fiberglass slide that had several lanes that were great for racing other riders that operated at the park from 1968 to 1991. Now, I personally remember riding this when I was a kid, and it was one of my favorites. You just climbed up this long set of stairs to the top, you slipped inside a burlap bag, and you slid down, and you raced other riders, and it was just a lot of fun. However, this attraction did have a few issues. On hot days, well, you can only imagine how hot the slide would get. In addition to that, if any part of your body touched the slide on the way down, you would definitely be walking off with a friction burn. Now, this ride was removed after 1991 to make way for an expansion of the Berenstain Bears Land. It was a big playground, and currently today, the kite-eating tree in Planet Snoopy sits in its former location. Still operates today. Next up, we have Kid Arthur's Court. Now, if you were a kid in the 80s, you probably remember this one well. Now, Kid Arthur's Court was like a kid's play area. It was multi-level and featured things like net climbing, ball pits, and all types of playground activities. Now, if you were a parent with young kids, you probably remember spending most of your day here, as kids never wanted to leave this area. It was just a lot of fun. And what was cool is a lot of the activities in here, the parents could join along with them. Now, Kid Arthur's Court closed down in 1999, and currently Troika sits roughly on the spot where Kid Arthur's Court once called home. Next up, we have the Mantis. Now, Mantis was Cedar Point's stand-up roller coaster, opening up in 1996 as the world's tallest, fastest, and longest of its kind. However, it was not comfortable to ride. Ask just about any man that rode it. It closed down in 2014 due to the discomfort issues and was converted into the roller coaster Rougarou, which opened in 2015. Now, a fun fact about Mantis. Before Mantis opened up, it was originally going by the name of Banshee. However, Dick Kinzel, the park's CEO at the time, found the name to be a little controversial, so they switched it over to Mantis. Rougarou still operates at the park today. Next up, we have the Frontier Carousel. Now, Cedar Point has a few carousels today, but did you know they had several back in the day? From 1972 to 1994, the Frontier Carousel called Frontier Town home. Now, after the carousel was removed, it became a shaded picnic area with tables and covered areas. Today, many know it as Freak Show. That's still the same building that the carousel sat in, except they enclosed it and turned it into a haunt for during Halloween weekends. Now, if you are a fan of the Frontier Carousel, you could still ride it today, just not at Cedar Point. You have to travel to Dorney Park in Allentown, Pennsylvania to ride it. And another cool fact is Dorney Park put out this cool plaque right here that shows a little bit of the history of the carousel, including its time at Cedar Point. Next up, we have the Cedar Point Cinema, later known as the Good Time Theater. Now, this theater was huge. It roughly had room for about 1,000 guests. When it first opened in 1975, it featured IMAX movies, and that was pretty revolutionary for its time. However, before you entered the theater, there was a large pre-show area where they usually had a band playing or some type of entertainment before you made your way into the main theater. After the 2001 season, the theater was converted into an ice skating rink where it featured Snoopy and his gang on ice, and it was occasionally used for Halloween weekends as well. However, after the 2014 season, it was demolished to make room for Valraven, the park's dive coaster that still operates today. Next up, we have the Trabant. Now, the Trabant lasted from 1966 to 1990. Now, you may be thinking this ride looks familiar. Well, it's very similar, if not identical, to the Swabichin ride we featured in part 1. Now, the Trabant was an interesting ride where you sat on the outside of a disc and the disc rotated and started to swing in an upward position while it spun in circles. Now, up until a few years ago where they were relocated to the boardwalk area, the Scrambler and Matterhorn also called this area of the park home. Today, this area of the park has these big red umbrella sitting areas next to the pretzel stand. Next up, we have the Upside Down Funhouse, or otherwise known as just the Funhouse. Now, this attraction was on what's now known as the Boardwalk. It lasted from 1966 to 1981 before being removed for the Kid Arthur's Court. Now, I vaguely remember this as a little kid. The only memories I really have is I remember a rocking chair that was upside down with somebody rocking in it. And then my favorite part was the slides at the end. The only way out of the house was to take these metal slides, these spiral slides, down to the exit. And as mentioned, unfortunately after the 1981 season, this attraction was removed to make room for the Kid Arthur's Court, which of course, as mentioned, is now home to Troika. Next up, we have the Barren Curve. Added in 1970 and closing in 1984, the Barren Curve was part of the $1 Million Midway addition to the park. Now, the Barren Curve was a lot of fun. You sat in a little bobsled vehicle, and there was a circular track with a big hill in it, and you went around really fast. And when you reached peak speed, they used to have a loud blowhorn that sounded off. That was just a lot of fun. Now, after the 1984 season, Barren Curve was removed to eventually make room for the Wildcat roller coaster. Now today, the tilt track portion of Siren's Curse is sitting on approximately the location where Barren Curve used to call home. However, before Siren's Curse was built, if you looked in the area on the cement, you could still see a large circular cement area, and that was all that you could see that was left of Barren Curve. And Swabichin used to also sit next to Barren Curve as well in this area of the park before they were both moved, as mentioned, to make room for Wildcat. You can see this on an old map I pulled out here where the Barren Curve and Swabichin used to sit next to each other. And since we got this shot of the map pulled up right here, what takes us to our next attraction, the Frontier Lift. Now, the Frontier Lift lasted from 1968 to 1985 at the park and brought guests from the end of the main Midway area to Frontier Town in the park, pretty much right there where Mine Ride's exit is today. Now, this was an aerial cable ride, pretty much similar to the Sky Ride that still operates in the park today. Only this one went through the woods. It was very secluded, and it was a favorite ride of teenagers, as well you can only imagine why. Now unfortunately, after the 1985 season, the Frontier lift was removed to make way for Iron Dragon. Now there are still some remains of the Sky Ride today. You can see the station still exists back in Frontier Town, right at the exit of Mine Ride. You can even see the ramps still going up the side of the building where the riders entered and exited the ride. Today it's used as a storage area. Now the Midway Station, the main Midway Station, was totally demolished to make room for the Coaster's Diner and Iron Dragon. Next up we have the original Shoot the Rapids. Now we did feature the remake of Shoot the Rapids in our part 1 video. However, this is the original Shoot the Rapids that lasted from 1967 to 1981 in the Frontier Town area of the park. Now personally, I don't have a lot of memories of this ride. I remember it being there and I vaguely remember riding it, but that's about it. It was a fairly simple water ride that was a predecessor to the more modern log flume ride, and that's exactly what it was removed for after the 1981 season, to make room for Whitewater Landing. Now today there are no remains of the original Shoot the Rapids. However, I took this shot from the late 80s. This is some remains of the original Shoot the Rapids that used to sit under Whitewater Landing. They just never removed this part of the ride. It's part of the channel that the water went through. Now currently today, Maverick calls this plot of land home. Next up we have the Sky Wheel, or as some people call it, the double Ferris wheel. At Cedar Point, it was a classic 80-foot double Ferris wheel that operated from 1962 to 1980. Now the Sky Wheel was quite thrilling for a Ferris wheel. However, it was removed in 1980 due to its low capacity and mechanical issues. If you are a fan of the Sky Wheel or double Ferris wheel, this can still be found at many local carnivals throughout the country. Today that area is occupied by flowers and shrubs, as you can see behind me in this video. It's right before the Sky Ride, well, kind of in between the Sky Ride and the main Midway Carousel in the front of the park. For a better idea of where it was located, I can pull out my old map here. You can get a good idea exactly where it was. Next up on our list we have the Turnpike Cars. Now this ride is really similar to the Cadillac cars that operate at the park today. The only difference is you are in like a race car or kind of a sporty looking car instead of a classic car like the Cadillac cars were. Now this ride had a long run at the park. It was introduced in 1959 and didn't close till 2014 when it was removed to make room for Valraven. Now one of the memories I have of this ride when I was a kid was the queue line. You had to wait inside this enclosed dome before you were able to ride the ride. Now the dome was removed in its later years, I think it was like early 90s, but the ride still remained until it closed in 2014. Alright, the final ride on our list is probably the most inquired about ride, and that being the Jumbo Jet. Now in terms of coasters, the Jumbo Jet was short-lived. It lasted about 6 years, from 1972 to 1978. Now the Jumbo Jet featured a unique spiral lift hill that brought its riders up to the highest point of the ride before making many sharp dives and turns. This was produced by Schwarzkopf, and you sat in like a toboggan-style train where your other rider sat on your lap. Now after its removal in 1978, that area of the park saw several various different attractions, but today it's home to the Grand Pavilion restaurant. Now the last bit of information I heard about the Jumbo Jet is it still operates in Asia somewhere today. Now the closest ride you could get to the Jumbo Jet in the States today is the Whizzer at Six Flags Great America. This ride features the spiral lift hill and the same type of toboggan seating that Jumbo Jet used to have, and it's an Ace roller coaster landmark as well. And that's going to do it for part 2 of 15 defunct Cedar Point attractions. If there's something that you think we missed or that you'd like to see added into a future video, please let us know in the comments down below. We'd also like to hear from you if you have any memories of these defunct attractions at Cedar Point. So with that being said, we're going to wrap this video up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all out on the midways real soon.